The very phrase New World Order might well conjure up the image of an angry bald man in a basement somewhere. It's a barn. And I'm not angry, I'm very chilled out. And such rantings might revolve around the nefariously true to the utterly wackadoo in the same angry breath. Again, not angry, okay? Very, very chill, yeah? Look after your kids. You wouldn't let me look after your kids. Not because I'd throw them across the room, but because I'd just be like there in a stupor. Like, and you come back and things would be on fire, and I'd just be there. You'd be like, man, that guy is so relaxed.
620, I'm with fire now. Let me know when you're ready. Truck 2 en route to Theater 9. Your medical personnel is en route to Theater 9 now.
There is an international conspiracy of rich people who meet every year, finance ministers, billionaires, kings, presidents, with the plot to get even richer. At the behest of their Inuit masters, who have been digging a massive hole under Antarctica the size of NORAD. Yep, lawyer says the Inuit do live in Antarctica. I am correct. That's right, these Charles Bronson-looking motherfuckers have got the world in their hands, because they don't need to eat vegetables, and they don't pay taxes. Probably. This, in conjunction with the people of Swaziland, is a fiendish plot to bring back the Atlantans in an effort to deprive America of meat and make people eat burgers out of chickpeas. Because the FDA is powerless. Even though that's not a burger, they'll say, it's a burger. And I think we know why. That's right. Space lasers. Vaccinate my kids? I had 7 so I could lose a few. Also, Jesus is against it, as is written in Matthew 3:15-729er. Between the lines. That's why you and your family, to live, need to buy my survival crayons right now. They come in red, white, and blue, and you can do all sorts of stuff with them. They're good in cold weather, hot weather, no weather, underwater, fantastic. Type in Pat Riot into my Substack, for which you should probably sign up. It's about $300 a month. The best $300 a month you'll ever pay for. I need to suck easy in. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Here I'm talking about shifting world power from the perspective of a British self-exile. And in a long run-on sentence, here is what happened to the British Empire. Right. It peaked around 1900, and the First World War was absolutely devastating to the British Empire economically, and in terms of how it could influence the rest of the world and its own colonies. No longer could it boss people around as freely as it had. Nice history there, I think I'll have that. Or, more accurately, money. Give us your money. Clearly, from our perspective in the 2020s, the UK, that is Britain, that is England, really London, Zone 1 stopped being a world power after World War II. But it wasn't obvious at the time, and it didn't become obvious until the end of 1956, when Israel, Britain, and France invaded Egypt to try and retake the Suez Canal. And that failed because the US said, no you're not, we'll crash your economies. Yeehaw. And after that, it became obvious that the West was led by the US, and the East, Russia, and the USSR. That was the hegemonic power. And it was obvious then, but it wasn't obvious before then. And I wonder if the US is at a similar-ish position right now. Nice empire you got there. Shame if you just wallowed around in decadence for 30 fucking years. After the fall of the USSR, the USA became the world's only superpower, at least economically. But today, its leaders say that its position as big number one, fear is everywhere, we're coming to get you, we hit you because we love you, is threatened. Build back better, make America really good again like it was, do you remember? Whatever the hell Kamala Harris's campaign slogan was. I think it was Kamala Harris, the way we were. These slogans and the general rhetoric invoke past glory. They make the case that America doesn't need to progress. That's far away. We can't even think about progressing. We need to regain. And I, as a nobody, a mere entrenched observer, a basement goblin, it's a barn, I think that that is one of the few places in America where there is some consensus, that America isn't as great as it should be, or used to be, or as people want it to be. The debate is around what was Great America? Was it when some middle-class conscientious hippie woke up from his stupor and went, these products are made out of babies, man. That ain't right. In my Australian accent? Or was it before then, when people had, stern haircuts and were smoking floor tobacco out of asbestos pipes? Or was it when Rockefeller said, and this is an actual quote, fuck them kids? Well, I hypothesize that the US, in terms of external power that it can project, is diminished, and that, kind of like Britain, it's not immediately obvious that that has happened. It peaked in the late 60s, early 70s, when economic growth was its deepest, widest, and most stable. And since then, it has slowly declined, although not necessarily obviously, and it has certainly remained the world power since then until recently, now, shortly. I wonder if the fall of the USSR really diminished a lot of the attraction to the USA internationally, in that it was like a superstar wrestler defeating the heel on stage and suddenly I've got no one to fight, and people don't really feel as compelled to pick between Type 1 and Type 2 hypocrisy. The war in Iraq, while replenishing some coffers, really ladling a lot of public funds into some greedy fucking gullets, really, I think, retreaded what we had learned in Vietnam. American exceptionalism first, concepts of a plan second, resolution, maybe, in the form of angry thrashing. Oh, and by the way, liberty, freedom, justice, yeah, when possible, but really, it's all just PR. I suppose this is a good time to say that I've always wanted to visit El Salvador. Good food and nice climate, and I was looking at those prisons, and it seems that one thing they do there is they shave everyone's heads, so I guess I'd feel quite at home. Then, again, after kicking the hornet's nest and running away, America et al. Left Afghanistan, and we, and that's the Queen's we, because I was a mere babe at the time. I was born in 2008. I don't know anything about this. We left Afghanistan, despite having gone there to rebuild the country from the rubble we made it, and build the country better than ever, and teach people, and dig wells, and have little girls come to school when they weren't able to before. We decided that that wasn't as important as the price of cheeseburgers, or gas, or the Mexicans coming over the border to mow our lawns. Yes, the economy benefits greatly from exploiting outgroups, but, America for Americans. Not North and South Americans. United States Americans. Americans in states. But in the concept, they should have queued up, shouldn't they? Or maybe we could build our lawns over there, and they could cut them and send the clippings. Not the clippings. Well, no, they are mine, the clippings. But the real clincher, the American Suez, I think, was the Trump meeting with Zelensky. All of the world is an office, right? And Iran and Iraq are over there putting each other's staplers into gelatin, and Britain and France are being really cold to each other everywhere except the filing cabinet, the stationery room. And Greece is in the toilet smoking a Turkish cigarette going on about islands, right? And what happened was, we haven't seen anybody in the corner office for a while. Uncle Sam has been out to lunch for quite a time. And even though months ago, the elevator doors opened and Uncle Sam walked out, and boy oh boy, is he putting on a lot of weight. He is corpulent, very corpulent. And he's there and he's waddling. He's waddling along and he's eating his Baconator made out of Pop-Tarts instead of a bun. And he's looking back and it's like, I've lost one of my... Oh, I'm American. I've lost one of my Stars and Stripes Crocs. Crikey. And then we had the incredible moment.
Did you even say thank you, Mr. Zawinski?
That's the moment when the rest of the office's eyeballs started to sting and they started to look at each other and go, that's not B.O. He's really shit himself this time. And that's where we are. And again, I think it's similar to Suez. I don't think it's the same thing. And I don't think in the next 20 or 30 years, America won't be a power. I just don't think that they will be a superpower. And that we're entering a period of plurality and desperation. Because I don't know if you've heard of this before, but limits to growth. There are limits. There are limits to growth, perhaps, perchance, according to Yale and various others. It's not a conspiracy. It's really much, much sadder, as always. It's just short-sighted greed. I mean, it's not 1776, and it's not 1859. It's 1776 plus 1859. It's 3635, and there has been a papal conspiracy to remove the last 1610 years from our history. Why? Because they don't want us to know the truth. And the truth is actually that we're great. Everything about us is great. We're untouchable, fantastic, except they've dug their way in and they're trying to undermine us. There's nothing wrong with us and we shouldn't change. But we should be worried. But we shouldn't fear because we are great. But we should be annoyed and concerned and terrified. But we should always stand strong. And we should keep buying. But we should save money. I mean, not money, but like things for trading, you know, like honey or like wood carvings of dollies and crayons. Have I mentioned crayons? Buy my crayons today.